just a quick recap of what I've been up to lately. Did a last minute race down in down south in the UK. It was a half, just for the opportunity to come up to do one, so we did it, we pushed it. The plan was to win and hold back on the swimming and the bike based on the physiological tests that shows that my engine's running that hot that I'm not able to run well off the bike. I may have mentioned this previously, but obviously holding back on the bike enabled me to run quicker. Because obviously, as I know, my run splits, previously my standalone run splits are not reflecting my 70.3 capabilities. So I'm running a lot slower with my 70.3s than I should, basically. But yeah, so that approach really paid off. I got one of the fastest run splits of the day, and that all worked really well. But something else that I wanted to touch on, and this is probably what the video is going to be about, is the little supplementary stuff I've done around my running. So being able to stay injury free is huge, and the supplementary work, be it in the gym or the little activation exercises, they've allowed me to stay injury free, and as well as that, they've left the muscles a lot stronger. So it might surprise you that I spend quite a lot of time strengthening up my feet. So if you actually think about it, it makes total sense. The first thing that makes impact with the ground is your toes. If your toes are not in good shape and the muscles in your feet are not been looked after well, then you're going to have problems. More than likely, a lot of people's knee, hip, and lower back problems can all stem from your feet and your lower body imbalances. So just going to show you a few exercises that I do quite regularly. I don't have the best strength in my feet, and that is why I'm exploring these areas this season. I've noticed that I haven't got the most dexterity in my feet, and I'm a big believer that if you've got good dexterity, that's good motor control, and that will translate into good performance. Not to mention, if you go to roll your ankle or anything like that, the only thing that's keeping you upright is your feet, balance-wise. I'd imagine it translates very well into the bike as well. Just having good proprioception in your feet will really pay off. So as you're going into corners, things like that, that's all the balances, and how you transfer your weight through the pedals can be just as important as how you're transferring your weight through the handlebars and the saddle. So yeah, feet are a huge important factor to consider in any strength program. I think people neglect them a lot, and as humanity, we've got pavements outside, we don't have the dirt tracks and the grass that man was originally intended to walk on. So what's happened is the shoes of modern society, they've left us that we rely on the shoe to take a lot of the impact and to be stable and support the foot. And what's happening now is the muscles in the feet are kind of regressing, so they're not as strong as they would have been before modern day man looked like what they do now. So yeah, it's important to stay in touch with the mechanics of using your feet well. Barefoot running, there's a huge reason why these Kenyan runners are able to stick to high volume miles, and I reckon a huge component of that is the fact that they've been running barefoot for such a long period of time, coupled with the fact that they've been running for a long period of time as well from their youth. But yeah, their joints, their ligaments, their tendons, and the little muscles in the feet that are super powerful for their size, they're so well conditioned because they've been repeatedly stressed, and they've adapted to become so rigid, so robust, that those guys are basically bomb-proof. That's why you can stick them in the most grueling sessions, the most grueling training programs, and they will flourish. Whereas you take someone from the Western world, where we've worn shoes all our lives, and to be honest, a lot of us are wearing the wrong size shoes, but that's something for another day. So basically, a lot of people, we think we're in the right size shoe, but the shoe's probably too small for us, and that's really hindering the development of your feet, especially as a young teenager. But yeah, try and walk around barefoot as much as you can when you're not training, and if you have the access to grass, just do a few strides on, things like that. Or barefoot run in the grass would help you hugely. Obviously, don't go do it in your local park or anything like that unless you can guarantee there's no glass in there. Well, I'm only condoning this if it's your own garden and you know that the stuff in it, you've control over that, because I don't want anyone go around with splinters in their feet or lacerations in their foot. So yeah, something to look into. But anyway, let's get crack on with these exercises. Okay, so to begin with, what I like to do is just wriggling the toes, trying to get as much movement into them as possible. And then one thing that's really good to do is just scrunch them up. So when we're running, we tend to flex our feet out a lot. So we're putting them into plantar flexion. So when we run, typically we spend a lot of time in plantar flexion, and the toes remain quite curled or flexed out. So it's good to really spend some time opposing that movement. So curling the toes up, just holding them there. You may even find that your feet start to shake a little bit because of this. But just hold it there 10-20 seconds, relax, wriggle your toes, just get all that tension out of them. And then repeat it again. So just holding that, repeating it a couple of times. It's a really good way to get the feet conditioned and get them warmed up for your upcoming run. Then opposing that, flexing the toes up towards the ceiling. Just holding it there, trying to get as much range through as possible without over pushing it. And that's a really good one too. Then you can go for individual stuff like planting your big toe on the ground and lifting your other toes. One thing I will point out, runners typically have dodgy toenails, as you might notice. It's very hard with the run volume we do to keep our nails healthy, with just the pure friction against the shoes. Even the toes end up quite covered in blisters and so on. So any of you guys that are partaking in endurance events, you'll come to find this, especially on the race day. Blisters and that, they're just unavoidable. Baby powder is a good way of getting around that in your shoes. Just try and take good care of your feet because you've only got one set. But yeah, then after that, another good one to do is spreading the toes out, so putting really good distance in between them. So one thing I will point out here is what this looks like on me might look completely different on someone else. We all have different dexterity in our toes, but the main concept we're aiming for here is just getting as much mobility and range of movement through our feet. Whatever that might look like for you, it might be completely different, but it's just important to ensure you're getting a nice range, taking them into movements that you don't necessarily take them through regularly. Because the way I've said this to many people, if you are not taking them through those range of movements regularly, well then you lose those range of movements. So maintaining them, and then obviously when you go to exercise, then you're working at a lower range, but you still have that high capacity to within your mobility to explore and develop. So a great exercise to do is put a towel on the ground and literally use your foot just like a worm, just wriggle it in towards you, so you're going nice and wide on the way out, curling it up, curling it up, curling it up, and you can just keep repeating that until you have the whole towel or whatever you're using in towards you. Changing sides and repeat it again. You may even feel your perineals working as well. When you're doing stuff like this, you start to become very much aware how everything's linked and connected, because you can feel other bits working. If you even study your calves, you can see they have a key role in stabilising the foot and the foot's movements. So you can do different exercises for your arch now. So literally just rolling the weight, dispersing it on different parts of the feet. try to keep the feet firmly planted and touch with the ground. And then you're just stressing it in different ways, getting the muscles to fire up. Try contracting little bits of your feet that you don't normally think about. Just try to bring awareness into those areas. So tensing up there, then tensing up on the outsides, and relaxing and going again. Same on the other side. Yeah. Okay, so those mobility exercises are great to wake up the feet as well. So take them to positions and hold them there is a great way of building somewhat similar to isometric strength. But what we want to progress that and make the foot even more stronger and stress it in a concentric way. A bit like what we do when we lift weights. The addition of resistance band is great. So if you have a way of anchoring it to one side, that could be as simple as wrapping it around the ankle of the opposite leg or the ankle of your other leg. And using the other foot like so. So imagine that's your ankle and here's your foot. You can then take it into inversion movements, eversion movements. So basically just swinging it out to the side as the toes pointing down, bringing it out to the side as the toes pointing up. And just taking it through a full range of different movements and stressing those little muscles in a new way, and I guarantee you'll run a lot better and stay injury free because of it. So I would recommend higher repetitions for these, simply due to the load not being as excessive as something like in the gym where you'd be doing a lot of squats and so on. Because we can't really stress the muscle with a huge amount of weight, we should opt for reps as opposed to increasing the resistance. So to begin with, maybe 10 reps of each of these exercises, and then progressing that to maybe 20 reps. And then just as you're approaching your race season, drop back down to 10, and then you're entering a maintenance phase. So just maintaining that strength and that injury prevention. Okay. One last exercise that's quite good to do. So imagine this is your foot, placing that, so my left foot will be placed in here, my right foot will be coming on top. So you can do this seated or standing, and then you literally will be lifting your leg up, so your knee up a bit. And then once you've got tension on it, lowering your foot, bringing it up, lowering it, bringing it up. So entering into plantar flexion and then dorsiflexion. So try and bring your toes up as high as you can. So a lot of us endurance athletes, because we spend a lot of time in the plantar flex position, be that in swimming, be that in running, and somewhat on the bike, we tend to have poor dorsiflexion. So dorsiflexion being when your toes are trying to point up towards you. So if we're not using it regularly, similar to what I said before, if you're not in that position regularly, you lose the ability to be in that position. So it's important to, for the longevity of our athletic careers, and as well as our health in the long term when we get older, to maintain our ranges of movement. So a good way to do that is like the knee to wall. So if you were to face the wall here, you put both hands on it, feet side by side, and you try to put your knee out past your toe, and you'll feel a lovely stretch in the back of your calf. And that's a good way of developing your dorsiflexion. So yeah, that'll be a good few exercises now for you to do. Try to do them weekly, build a habit of doing it. Don't go all in on doing a big session to begin with and then losing the will to keep it up. Build everything up gradually like we do with all of our training, and I can guarantee you'll see the results in the long term for this. If you have any questions on any of the exercises that I've mentioned, just drop down in the comment section below. I'm aware it's quite hard to see what's going on with my feet when I'm doing it, but if you follow the principle of just getting as much movement into the toes, wriggling them as much as you can, a bit like what you can do with your fingers, aim to get as close to that with your toes, well then you're on the right track. And then adding some resistance in with a resistance band. And then if you are doing stuff in the gym, if you are able to do it barefoot, all the better. You're allowing your body to perform the way it's meant to be. And out of the constraints of the modern day shoe. So yeah, any questions, pop them down below. Hope you find that useful.